Trouble for Gen Z in the workplace. Employers are reporting that this generation is the most difficult to work with.
You want to know what's funny? Come here. It's not that the new generation is more difficult to work with. It's that the older generation is more difficult to work for, right? Because in the article, it further explains that the newer generation is more difficult to work with, right? Because apparently they're easily offended. Get so close right now. I promise you it's the older generation that is more offended than anybody else. If you don't believe me, go to your boss and ask for a raise and watch how offended everybody gets, right? Or put in your 2-week notice and watch how personal your boss takes that, right? Another reason was apparently the new generation is untrustworthy. I promise you, during your job interview, when your boss says, we're like a family, and then you have to take a day off because it's a personal issue, watch them make you feel so guilty for doing so, right? And lastly, they said that the newer generation apparently are lazy. It's not that they're lazy. They're not getting paid enough to do more than what they're already hired to do. That's not called being lazy. That's called taking a stance and having standards.
Go watch his video than mine. Yes, it's in the dark, but it's bedtime and I am... Yep, there we go. Trying to get to sleep. And here's the thing. The younger generation are not more difficult to work with. They're more difficult to manipulate. See, you can't manipulate a 24-year-old Gen Zer who has access to all different types of companies and jobs at their fingertips via their phone, and who have enough honey badger balls to be on a Zoom call with you, your boss, you know, their boss. They're on a Zoom call with you. And if you don't pay them a living wage while they are on that Zoom call with you, they will pick up their phone, call another company that is hiring for a similar position that is paying higher than what you're offering. And they will have that conversation with them right in front of you. Just to let you know that anything that comes out of your mouth as the boss that tries to say that they are expendable and replaceable, so are you. So are you. I'm replaceable and expendable as an employee. You are replaceable and expendable as an employer. Two can play this game. Like, it's literally like that. They are ruthless, they are vicious, and I fucking love it. You know how many CEOs got caught and dragged through the mud just last week alone because they gave themselves multi-million-dollar bonuses and just could not be bothered to understand why their employees were both not happy with that, not, warm and welcoming with that, but also demanding their own raises and bonuses. And they were saying, oh, you don't get this, this is why. Like, my bestie of 14 years is a CEO. And I tell it to her face all the damn time. CEOs are not shit. Like, she is a CEO who actually does work, but her work is niche. Most CEOs don't do shit. And I will tell her to her face, they don't do shit, they're not worth shit, and they are not worth an unlimited pay scale, especially when the people below them don't get shit, including good healthcare. Like, we argue about that all the time. But it's true, they're not shit. And that's the thing. They want this to still be the time when people kissed up and sucked the ass of CEOs, hoping that they would be made a mid-level manager 10 years down the line. And because that isn't happening with Gen Z, they're pissed.
Hi, ladies. I absolutely love Gen Z. I mean, I think you guys are like the most powerful people in the world. So far beyond anything that I could have imagined. All right. The fact that young people understand the game far better than people my age even understood what was going on. You understand the game. You know how to play it. And I'm going to tell you this is a little story time. And this was some years ago. I had to take an Uber. And I give my son my car, and so I had to take an Uber. And so I'm talking with the young man who's driving the Uber. And talking with this young man changed my perspective, okay? I was like, I was going to get my taxes done. And so he's telling me, he goes, oh, I got to get all of my 1099s. And I'm like, all of them? He goes, oh yeah, I got like 8 or 9. And I'm like, oh, so you have that many jobs that you do? He goes, well, I do gigs. And I didn't even know what that was. He goes, I do gigs. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He goes, well, I drive for Uber. And he volunteered to put together the float for the Thanksgiving Day parade in downtown Detroit. He also delivered for one of the food companies. What is it called? I forget, but so he named off like 4 or 5 different things that he did. And I was like really fascinated. I'm like, so are you looking for a full-time job? And he said, no. And this was mind blowing. You're not looking for a full-time job? You're just going to keep doing. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, that means I can take the day off when I need to. If I want to do something else, I can, like the volunteer. And if I want to do this, and I'm like, I'm amazed, because that is not the way people of my generation understand work. We understand full-time, 80 hours a week, 9 to 5 or whatever your shift is, benefits, all that stuff. He's like, oh no, I don't even want that. That's not even something that I want, I'm looking at. He goes, I'm going to do a class on this and a class on this. And it was mind-blowing, because it had never occurred to me that some people don't want a regular everyday job. I couldn't understand that. And I remember telling my sister about it, and I was like, how does that work? Because I'm like so confused. And she's like, I don't know. She's got, the regular job like me. But it was mind expanding in that it was a possibility I had never known even existed. All right. And I got to thinking, I might like to do that too. I'm not sure how you start that or how that works. But, as time goes on, it's like amazing to me that the power of knowing your capabilities, how much you're worth, where you can sell your skill set at, broadens your horizon. It was like, wow, I love this generation. I am amazed every day at your abilities, and just the gall. You understand what it is that needs to get done, and you just go do it. I'm like, wow. So that's one of the reasons I love watching social media, because I learn so much. I'm like, oh, how does that work? So my hat is off to each and every one of you. Like I said, I love TikTok. I love YouTube. I love watching other people's stories and understanding or getting to watch and learning about how different people do different things. It has opened up my eyes to an entirely new way of life, and I absolutely love it. Kudos to you all. Love you, ladies.